Hi guys, this is Arthur for FlopTurnRiver, and this is part 3 of navigating the bubble. As usual, I have 3 hands lined up for analysis, and in my personal opinion, this part has the most interesting hands out of the 3 parts so far. So let's get right into it. So in this hand we got pretty equal stack sizes, no obvious short stacks, and I'm under the gun with pocket queens. I make a standard open, everyone folds, and the big blind flats. The guy seems fishy over a small sample, but it's enough to estimate his flattening range here as very wide. I get a pretty good flop, especially against his range, and he checks. So far it's all pretty standard. I bet a little over half pot and get called. The turn brings me a flush and he checks again. Now this is where my thinking probably went in the wrong direction at the time. Maybe I have been playing a whole bunch of tables or something and didn't pay attention to details, but in this spot it's an easy second barrel against the fish. If I was up against a regular, I would definitely check back, simply because in this particular situation I can't see many regulars playing back at my second barrel with air or calling with a worse flush, so I get no value by betting, while a fish in this situation will play pretty straightforward. If he has a lower flush, he will not let it go against small to medium sized bets, and if he has the nuts or the second nuts, then he will likely just jam the turn. Even if he would flat the turn with the nuts, it's very unlikely that he would check it to me on the river. So anyway, what I wanted to say is I should have bet instead. I checked and missed out on some good value. So the river pairs the board and he checks to me again, which means that he has air. And I go for a smallish bet in hopes that he'll call me with something. And fortunately he did have a club. So in this hand I have ace deuce, and I think this is a standard open here. The guy to my left has only 4 big blinds, so if he shoves I'll happily call him off, and if he folds the rest of them will likely fold too. Of course that's not the way this worked out, and I got flatted by what seems to be a decent player from the small blind. Fortunately, I hit a dream flop, and even better, it seems like he decided to make a play at me here. At this point, many players just try to get it in as fast as possible, because the fact that it's the bubble is always in the back of their minds. But what you have to consider here is that this is a 100% bullshit line. That can't be anything but air, and even if this was some sort of tricky play with aces or kings, which is very, very unlikely, I still got him crushed, so no need to rush anywhere. So I flat his donk bet, hoping that he will continue his strange line, but unfortunately he figured out that this will not end well for him, and shut down completely. Didn't even pay me off on the river. Oh well. Now, this is a very interesting hand for many reasons. Pre-flop everything is pretty standard. A good regular opens from under the gun, and I flat with pocket fives from the big blind. The flop is as perfect as can be, and I check to the razor. He c-bets, and at this point there is no real reason for me to raise him, because he'll just fold all his air and hopefully he'll catch something good on the turn and I'll be able to get some good value from him. So I flat, and the turn is a harmless deuce. I check again and he checks back, which strengthens my belief that he has air. Now the river brings a very interesting ace of clubs. This now puts a flush draw, a straight draw, and might have very well paired his ace. Now, as I recall, I was playing quite a lot of tables at the time, and after a quick glance at the board, I figured there's very little chance that he has me beat here, so I decided to put in kind of a smallish value bet. To my surprise, he jammed over me. Now, I remember thinking about this for a long time, and eventually I came to this conclusion. There is a chance that he backdoored the flush on me. There is virtually zero chance of him having a straight here unless he had pocket freeze. And if it wasn't for a few other circumstances, I would probably have believed him. But in this hand, I represented my hand by a lot. Not only that, but I put in a very weak-looking bet on the river. Now, knowing that he's a solid regular, he might have very well figured that I am weak here. I would surely bet bigger with a flush or straight, and with the board being so draw-heavy, he might have thought that he could force me to lay down a whole bunch of better hands here. And in fact, he almost did. I think I went to the tank until basically the last few seconds. But eventually I decided to call, and he did have air. However, this is a very specific situation, and if at least one variable here was different, then this might have been a whole different situation. If, for example, the river was any other ace, then it might seem that it's a much easier call than with the ace of clubs rolling out. But it actually would be much closer to a fold if I got jammed on in that spot. The main reason would be that he has nothing to represent except pocket freeze or ace free, so the chance of him bluff jamming a non-club ace on the river is pretty slim. So yeah, that was my thinking here. However, this is a very interesting hand, so I'd be happy to hear your thoughts on this hand. So this was part 3 of the series. Thanks for watching and good luck.